Hi, I'm Kelly.
And I'm Deborah.
And together we're Two Gals Travel Tips. Today we're going to Madrid, Spain. We're going to take a deep dive into Madrid for way under $1,500. I was surprised at how cheap this trip came in. I've been to Madrid only once with my husband. We broke this trip up. We went to Madrid, and then we went south, and then we came back to Madrid. I don't think we did Madrid justice, and we didn't do the day trips that I'm talking about if you're going to base out of Madrid. And now I'm regretting it a little bit. Maybe we'll have to take a trip back. So this trip came in at $1,110.50, which is way under budget.
Way under.
And I allotted a lot of money for food, so you could really have a good time with this. So our flight was $345 round trip from Boston without checked bags. And actually, I was telling Deb on Scott's Cheap Flights, I got an alert after I priced this whole trip out at $295. So I didn't redo it, but because that's a really unusual price, this $345 you can find pretty often. Although, you know, flights like we've talked about have gotten more expensive with the price of gas. But, you know, you can find this price, $295, you're not getting very often. So, and then our Airbnb right in the heart of the city was $196. Yeah. So that was a great price. Food was $300, which we usually budget. I did bump the budget for gas to $50 because the price of gas has, you know, doubled. And that price of gas is us to and from Boston with our parking and our tolls. The transportation pass for 7 days in Barcelona was just under $40. Our activities came in at $129.50 because honestly, a lot of the activities are going to parks, walking around, walking from one plaza to the next, getting a drink, you know, getting a churro, those types of things. So, and then a lot of churches, and honestly, the activities were not very expensive. Yeah. And I did price out the Madrid pass for 5 days versus paying cash. The Madrid pass I did not find was worth it for what I was interested in seeing. So again, this is one I would really do the hard math on because I did not see it was significantly more how you would get the value out of it. And then, you know, your COVID test, of course, you need one to get home. That's about $40. And there is no COVID requirement to get into Spain, and there's no visa requirement to get into Spain. So at this time. Yeah. So really a great value. So we're going to break our days up in, or our trip into days to make it a little bit easier. So on our first day, we always like to take, and we prefer the Sandemann's free tours, although there's lots of other tour companies out there. So we want to start with the Sandemann's free tour, so we get our feet wet, we get, you know, our bearings of the city, and then we're going to go to the Puerto del Sol. And my pronunciations of things are terrible. And
notoriously terrible.
Yes, and a Kellyism is I will come up with a pronunciation and then stick with it, even though it's completely off. So if I'm pronouncing something
I will probably correct
wrong,
her just so that you can look it up.
That is why. It's just...
She tries.
Yes, I do try. I would never function in another country long term because I couldn't do it. So the Puerto del Sol is one of the famous squares in Madrid. It's beautiful. The Mercado de San Miguel is a market that is a really nice market to walk around. There's La Amunda Cathedral, which is a beautiful cathedral in Madrid that is really a must-see.
And it's not only just a cathedral, but it's also sort of like a museum of things within that cathedral. So the history of things that have been given, especially because Madrid is such an old city, that so much artifact has gone to that cathedral. So if you haven't really been to cathedrals or churches, is not really your thing, I absolutely suggest that you do make the trip to do this one. It's beautiful.
Yep. And a lot of that history comes from So the Habsburgs were the empire, the royal
Austrian
family,
Empire at the
right?
time.
And they had the royal family was in Spain. So some of that history comes from the Habsburg Empire. So I forget which king was a Habsburg, but
There we go. We'll cover that in another video.
yes. So, and then we're going to end off, well, we're going to start at the Plaza Mayor with our Sandeman's free tour. That's when I was there. That's where they took left from.
Yep.
And that's where we're going to return to, and we're going to go to get a drink at the bullfighting bar. And I love animals, so I'm against bullfighting, but it is part of the culture. So La Torre del Oro is a really old bar in Plaza Mayor, and it has all kinds of bullfighting artifacts. We'll link some videos, some pictures in here about the different pictures you can see there, and you get a drink, and it is part of the culture that you get a little snack with
tapas.
your drink. You get a tapa, so you get a drink, get a tapa, and you see the history of the bullfighting while you're there. So that's a full first day. So day 2, we're going to spend our day consolidated in one little section of the city, which is where the Prado National Museum is and the Reina Sofia Museum. Both are art museums, both are must-see. The Prado Museum is 15 euros to get into. I believe it's included in the Madrid pass, but that will be on our spreadsheet. The Royal Botanical Gardens are there. That's 4 euros. If they are in season, it is an absolute must-do.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful garden.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. My husband and I went in April, which is kind of, we're suggesting May to go at this price, but, April was beautiful. And all the tulips were in bloom. It was really well worth. I think we spent an hour or so in there. Very beautiful. And the Reina Sofia Museum is 10 euros to get into. Again, well worth the entry fee. Unfortunately, when we were there, it was closed. So, pay attention to that. A lot of museums, just in case you don't know, are closed on Mondays. I don't recall the day of the week we were there. However, just, make a mental note of that when you're planning your trip, that most museums are closed on Monday. So plan other activities on a Monday, or definitely look into it. And then we went to the park. We saw Neptune's fountain. We walked that day from down the Gran Via to this area, and it was beautiful and well worth the walk.
Yeah.
So on day 3, or, you can break these days up any way you want, is we're going to go to the Royal Palace. We're going to see the changing of the guard. The changing of the guards at the Royal Palace. I love changing of the guards, so I always try. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I see every church and I see every changing of the guard. It only happens twice a week, and there is a special one once a month. So if that is important to you, look at the days of the week that the changing of guard is happening. At a twice a week one, you might want to get there, 15, 20 minutes early so you can see. Ones that happen every day, you don't necessarily have to get there early to see it in order to, get a good spot, say. And then from there, we're going to go either before or after. We're going to go to the Royal Palace. The Royal Palace is beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful.
And it includes like, a church with a crypt, with, various members of the royal family buried there. And then you go into the Royal Palace grounds and you go into the Royal Palace. It's a very limited tour, but it's beautiful and absolutely well worth going into. My husband and I on our first night in Madrid, stayed right across from the Royal Palace. So we saw the Royal Palace in all different day, nights. It's beautiful, and it was spring, and everything was in bloom, and it was beautiful. And it's like there's like a park to walk around.
Yeah. So take your time, even though the tour is kind of short, if you will, because they keep it very limited on the area. But do the tour, and everywhere else that you can walk and see on your own, just take your time. Don't rush through that. I would say probably leave about an hour and a half, of your day to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And then after it, we're going to go to the Museo.
Prado.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that is $3 to get into. Unfortunately, my husband and I missed this, but it is one of the kind of must-see things to do in Madrid.
Yeah. It is. Definitely make sure that this fits your list. And like we said before, because these are, museums and places, check the days and times. Now, typically we consolidate those types of activities if they're going there for the week, anywhere between like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because anybody traveling or doing a lot of weekend, your traffic for your entrance is going to be way higher. So do it midweek, but stay away from obviously Sundays and obviously Mondays.
Exactly. And then there's a park behind the palace, and it has a temple. It's called the Tempo du Bode. It is beautiful. We'll show some pictures. It's beautiful at night, like at sunset, gorgeous. That's again free, to walk through. It is definitely worth it. And then kind of right around the corner is the Chocolateria San Gines, and that is a famous place for churros. In fact, so if you go, you want to go to the second window. I didn't know this. So there's this mile-long line, and my husband was like, really? You really need this churro? And I'm like, well, it's world famous. We have to have it. So, we were waiting in line, and I don't know, some lady told me, she was like, go over there. And sure enough, like, we were in and out in no time. The churros, I don't know if they were, worth an hour in line, truthfully. However, it's like us, one of those must-do things in Madrid. I'm glad I went. Speaking of must-dos in Madrid, is in Rick Steves' book, he talks about buying cookies from a convent in Madrid, and it's these the nuns, right? So you have to push a button on the outside of this building, and then they let you in, and then you slide your money through this like turny thing.
Put your money in, and then they turn it around so they take your money out.
And you have to order cookies, but I didn't know what cookies I was ordering. Like, I couldn't understand what cookies I was ordering. I was like, whatever, just give me some cookies. So I got a couple of boxes. Now, the only reason I was able to know which button to push is there was a homeless guy sitting like on the corner who told me. So I tipped him, and I gave him a box of cookies for helping me. So he helped me figure out which button to push. We got in, we got our cookies. They were delicious. It was fun, and we'll show a picture of the convent of the cookies.
Yeah, it's really a famous thing to do. When my daughter and I went to Madrid, we weren't there in the city during our trip the day that we wanted to go. And I was so disappointed because we were going to be in another, city at the time. But it's something like one or two particular day a week that you can only do this on. They don't do it every day. So,
and the cookies are really good.
Yeah, that's what you had said they were.
Yeah, the cookies are better than the churros.
Yeah.
So that is our day 3 for Madrid. And that's, again, a full day, not rushing around, enjoying, having, a drink, having some churros, and enjoying the city. So day 4, Madrid, we're gonna walk around the Plaza de Orient. We're gonna go to the Real Basilica del Francisco, El Grande. We're gonna walk the Gran Via, and that's a beautiful street, and so enjoy and take your time. And then we're gonna go to the Plaza del Calo, which is another famous, like, must see, the Times Square of Madrid. Can't miss it. And then we're gonna go to the History Museum of Madrid, which is again a free museum. This is why this city is coming in so inexpensively, is that you can walk around and enjoy the sights and enjoy the people, and you know, these nice places like the churches and a lot of the museums are very inexpensive to free to enjoy.
They are, and the Grand Via is beautiful. So it's really an interesting kind of area. You'll go in one area and there's artisans and you know, shops and people. Then you can go up these side street areas, and that's sort of where the locals really shop, not along the main line. And that's where we found these wonderful little, like, artisan craft shops, and found some interesting finds along that way. But you do have to be careful about the hours, I will say, because that afternoon closing time is absolutely true.
Right. So siesta. So, you know, in Spain, they take a siesta, generally speaking, in the middle of the day. So pay attention to that.
Yeah, they're closed from like 1 to 4, 2 to 5, but it's random. It's whatever they want. Whenever they want to be closed, just expect in the afternoon that there's going to be places that are not open. But then you'll keep on walking in these other areas, and there's high-end, you know, stores, and then there's more of like little residential coffee shops and things of that area. So it has everything, and the people, like I said, are so kind. They really are. And it's a very safe place to be walking around.
Yeah. So when you were in Madrid, you and Kendall took a cooking class.
Yes.
So, and you talked about it, and tell us about it.
Oh, I love this cooking class. I'm so glad that we did this. If you have the opportunity, you should do it. We found ours through Airbnb experiences. So we went on the experiences, and I said, you know, what is it that we want to do? And I wanted to learn how to cook paella. So we took this cooking class. It ended up with the people that were, so some people didn't make it. So it's just my daughter and I. And we learned later that the gentleman who teaches this class is kind of a well-known chef. But he taught us how to cook paella and sort of like a ceviche. We made sangria, and then we ate it there. And then we made this like cute little dessert. So it was a huge meal. And really, it was just Kendall and I eating it. We're like, please eat with us. He's like, no, we're good. And I'm like, no, please. And we had a humongous meal. But we learned everything from knife skills, how to cut the oranges, both for the ceviche and the fish, to, you know, putting everything into the sangria and what wines that you would put into sangria. And the cost, I believe, was around $18 a person, so well worth it. We even got a tour, because where it's located in this building is where that they sell the Iberica jambon, you know, meat, and we learned all about which farms are allowed to be licensed to do Iberica beef or meat, ham. And learned all about that farming, and then how you would tell which ones are truly Iberica and which ones are not, because that's kind of a scam. And then in their area was like spices and things of that nature. So if you have a chance, you should really do it, because we had such a good time.
Yeah.
And then we have some other day trips planned as well. So we have a day trip to Toledo, and not Ohio. And then another day trip to Segovia.
Yeah. So these are the like 2 big day trips from Madrid that I did not do, which now I'm really, especially after researching this, wishing I had done. Toledo is an old city. There's aqueducts there. There's a cathedral there. There's an old city there. And with transportation, so I originally priced this trip out having a car, but then I was able to get our Airbnb right in the city, so we only had to get the Metro Pass A. So when you're looking at your Airbnb, look at where it is and make sure that you're getting the right transport pass, whether you need A or B. A or B, I believe. So one is right in the heart of the city, one does the outskirts. So we only had to get the A. So I got rid of the car, and there's high-speed trains both to Toledo and Segovia. So we didn't need that. And it was like, I don't know, 20 euros round trip for each one, or 15 or something. And then, so all of our activities for that day came in at 32.50 euros. So that's, a great value.
That is a really good value. And while you're out at Toledo, there's this wonderful monastery that is out there as well. So that is worth it in and of itself.
I think so, yeah.
To go out.
Yeah.
And the aqueducts, I believe, are the ones that are remaining from the Roman era,
Exactly,
right?
yes.
And the coolest thing about traveling all over Europe are seeing aqueducts. So when I had gone to Rome, a little side note, when I got to Rome, I'd learned about, obviously, how extensive the system was. And then when we were in England, and then of course in Spain, and then of course in all these other places, there's still remnants of them being there. So it's kind of fun to watch and say, oh, I know what that is.
Yeah. Once you see it once, you'll know.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So good. Now we have, so that is, almost 7 days or 6 days of activities that are sort of packed in. And you can move these schedules around. And what we're going to show you next is sort of how we have laid out our activities in this recommendation. Because as Kelly said, how you want to consolidate with which days the museums are open versus concentrating it by the area of the city, so you're not zooming all over the city, going from one location to another location. She's concentrated all of this so that if you're exploring a part of the city, here are the things you do in that part, and then the next day you're in another part. And if you want to go back and move some things around, then you have a better lay of the city and how to get around there. But that Metro Pass is going to really come in handy.
Yeah. It was. It's a beautiful city. It's a beautiful old city, and it's just enjoyable just to be there. Enjoying being there. It's so different from what we do in this country. Is just walking around, enjoying the sights, all the, because there'll be statues and parks and monuments and churches, and you can just walk down and walk in and enjoy the city that way. So it doesn't have to be costly. And this is a really good example of way cheaper than traveling in this country. And people think that you have to spend a lot of money to travel outside of the country, and it is just not true. I mean, there are places that are expensive. I'm planning a trip to Antarctica. I'm going in January. That is very expensive. There's just no way around. Well, there is some way around it for it to be not as expensive as what I'm doing, but not willing to do what it takes. So, but there's certain things that are just more affordable than you would think. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next one.
This is a very similar spreadsheet to what we typically use, where it breaks down all of our costs. We've got everything from our flight, lodging, food, our Metro Pass, our activities, our gas, the expenses to and from the airport. We're at budget of $1,500 per person, and we're coming in well under that with $390 to spare. Here are the activities broken down by day. This is the cost of the activities with the Madrid card, and this represents without the Madrid card. And as you can see, it is cheaper to do this without purchasing the Madrid card. And that's where the $129.50 comes in. If you like our content, please subscribe, and also let us know what other cities you'd like us to cover. Until next time.